Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer, and this is Robin, and we're here with Hungry for More today. And we want to talk to you about conscious eating, really, and the benefits of it, and why we want everybody to understand conscious eating and to apply it in their lives and to really learn the practice of conscious eating. This last weekend, Robin got to come with me on a retreat. We went to this
So
retreat, and it was
fun.
so fun. She was my little sous chef, but she can be my sous chef anytime. She's a good worker. It was a fun retreat because we're doing what I love is to create recipes, good, healthy, nutritious recipes. But we also were able to speak to the group and spend a good solid 24 hours with them, covering different things. But of course, when we spoke, it's such a reminder of how much of a need understanding conscious eating, and what a big part food and eating plays in our life, right? It's something
Hmm.
that we do every single day,
Yeah,
unless you're doing like some fast for some reason. People eat daily.
right.
These come out, they eat daily. Our kids eat daily. Our family eats daily. And we're going to talk to you about the different ways that conscious eating helps you. And you're going to see how this applies to many areas of your life. But the thing that's nice about learning this with food is it's something that you can practice every day. It's not something that just comes around here and there. And what you find is as you feel like you're like, yeah, I'm a conscious eater, and you've exercised that muscle, you start seeing it roll over into other parts of your life. And it's
Hmm.
really exciting and it's liberating. And honestly, it's empowering. You're like, I can make these decisions for myself, body and spirit. So, Robin, why don't you start us off with the first thing that conscious eating does for us?
Yeah. And just speaking to the retreat, we really wanted to talk about this with you guys because in the retreat, going to a deeper level with conscious eating, people were like on the edge of their seats because they could make the connection between this need to evolve the brain to be able to eat in this world, like we've talked about, but also that connection was made of the importance of being in tune with your body. And
Well,
so,
and oh, sorry, I totally
go
cut you
ahead.
off. I was going to say, and you know how you're sitting there and you're listening to someone, no matter what the topic, I don't care what the topic is, and you're like, everything this person is saying, I'm feeling it into the core of my soul. Like, I
Yeah.
agree with this. This feels right. That's how it felt at the retreat.
Oh yeah, no, it was. And that's why we're like, oh, and these are the parts that fire us up so much about conscious eating.
Mhm.
So we want to go a little bit deeper than we have in the past with this, because not first and foremost, conscious eating is about the physical care of your body. Yes. And the physical care of your body entails weight management. How food interacts with your body impacts your weight, and the weight you carry on your body impacts your health and impacts your quality of life. So it's something, as someone who's caring for a body and has this responsibility, that we want to be able to learn to manage that. Like we manage a bank account, right? We manage our time. It's just one other thing in our lives that we are caring for. And so, on a physical level, conscious eating is a beautiful way to approach the weight management. But let's go a little bit deeper with this, and I'll go with the first one. So conscious eating, and in the post leading up to this, we're saying it goes to the spiritual and to the emotional levels, which a diet plan is going to just hit the first with the physical, right? So, okay.
Right.
Number one, it invites you to return to yourself as the authority. Okay. So, yes, as the authority of your weight, but what other areas in your life have you also outsourced? Maybe parenting, relationships, how to spend your time. We're always looking outside of us to know what's the best and what we should do and what's right. And it doesn't mean we don't get great ideas and tools. Like even we say with the weight loss, there's great tools you can use, but they are not the authority. And so the reason conscious eating does that, it returns you as the authority, is we recognize as conscious eaters that it's our body's job to manage our weight. Our body has the intelligence, it has the hormones, it has everything in place to manage our weight. And when we ask people outside of us to tell us, when do I eat? How often do I eat? What do I eat? How do I eat? That's what we're used to doing. And we're
Right.
used to, instead of paying attention to the cues of the body, we're like, well, here's my calorie count. And so I'm just going to follow this. And so this practice invites you to return, because in order to regulate these hormones, it requires you to wait, until you hear your body say, hey, it's time for nourishment. It requires you to listen for when your body says, so delicious, thank you, I'm done. And for you to respond, right? So when you do that and you come home to yourself as the authority, you start to practice this in your life and to go, hold on, I'm going to check in and see if this even feels like it resonates with me. If somebody's telling me this is the best way to do this or that, right?
Right.
But how do I do that? And when you're doing it with food, and like you said, we love attaching mindfulness practices to eating because no matter how busy you are, no matter where you go, you're always going to eat. So if you attach that mindfulness practice to eating, you develop that muscle. And it's the same muscle you use to be your own authority with food as you use to be your own authority in other areas of life.
Right, right. So we're inviting the body to return is one huge thing, right? Taking back that control and that power. Like I
Mhm.
used to be the person who told people when to
Me
eat
too.
and how
Yeah,
much to eat.
totally.
And I used to be told that. And so it's really great when you realize I don't need somebody to, I just got to check in with my body. She's going to tell me if she needs food or not. So
Yeah,
one,
real quick.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
so were you going to move on?
Yeah, go ahead while
Okay.
you're still here.
Before you move on, one practical way to give you guys an example of this, of how it goes into other areas. I was just in the coaching I do in other areas. Sometimes I coach on other topics. And sometimes people will say, am I thinking about this the right way? So they're coming to me asking, am I thinking about this the right way? And I always will reflect it back to them. And I'll say, let's see if this thought is good for you. And I will say the same thought that they approached me with. And I'll say, how does that feel in your body? Does it feel fear-based? Does it feel like it makes you small, or does it feel expansive? So I give the authority back so they can see it, rather than having somebody outside of them say that is a terrible thought. That's not going to help you in your life. Right.
Right,
So just that
right.
example, practical example of that is just, we really are the ultimate authority, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we bring that back home, the next thing conscious eating does is it helps us to stay home. We
Mm-hmm.
learn to feel our feelings, right? As we start checking in with ourselves and saying, do I really want to eat, or am I just upset over something, or excited over something, or
Yeah.
bored, or I'm switching environments, right? Like a trigger for me was just walking in my house from a day of shopping. It was like, oh, what can I eat? So when we stay at home and we remain there and we're a conscious eater, we're checking in with ourselves and saying, you know what? I'm not hungry. I'm actually really sad. I'm
Yeah.
actually really tired, and I'm going to stay with myself. I'm not going to use food as a buffer to
Right.
ease that pain because it's not going away. It's just buffering it.
Right.
And really, really, really being with myself at home,
Yeah.
coming home and staying at home, maybe literally, and maybe just wherever you are at the time.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And the reason we want to stay home is because we're here to experience this life, and it's through our emotions that we know what kind of experience we're having. And if we're continually escaping, and like you use the word buffer, it's another way to escape, right? I don't want to deal with this feels too much, I'm going to eat, and it kind of gives you space to escape it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being all in on this experience we're having here, and that's really important to me. And one of the reasons, I know it is to you too, the reasons why this really resonated for us is because we do have a belief that we are here to gain experience and knowledge and grow
Right.
and expand our souls and our spirits. And it's difficult to do when we're avoiding the experience, right? And
Right.
I do believe that we were created to be able to handle all of the emotions that we face in the circumstances, even and whole in the last 3 years, I feel like the spectrum of what I have felt,
Mm-hmm.
especially on some of the harder ones, have been so intense. But I'm so grateful that I have done this practice again on the daily with food, on the simpler part, on the physical level. It has transferred to when I've gone through some things that I'm not running away, not just to food, but running away from my life in general, like, numbing out on social
Right.
media, whatever. I am there. I know what to do with these emotions because I've practiced it
Right.
on the simpler level, right? So
Right.
staying home with yourself is very important. It's one of those things that when we say it to people, even at this retreat, that's one of those things that they were like, yes, this matters to us. We're in a time, I think, right now, of healing and of people really shifting in the way they're wanting to experience this world and moving out of kind
Right.
of the survival reactive and wanting meaningful lives. And so I think that's why that point resonates so much about staying home.
Right. I think so too. And, it's one of those things that's a trickier one. So be patient with yourself and put it to practice though, because the more you start staying home at yourself, the more you are going to feel at peace.
For sure. Even while you're consumed in that moment with,
Mm-hmm.
sadness or humiliation or whatever, you
Well,
can be home and witness yourself with that and work it through.
right. I mean, and a good way to think about that is, have you ever had something going on in your life and it felt like unsurmountable? Like this is
Mm-hmm.
really hard, but you still feel at peace and you
Mm-hmm.
still feel
Totally.
calm
Yeah.
versus erratic and like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy and da, 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 da. It's the same thing. You can still feel those emotions without feeling like
Yeah.
you have to go eat the cupboard, right? Eat everything that's in the
Yeah.
pantry. You
Yeah.
can still feel calm and at peace and still feel the feelings.
Right. It grounds you. And once you do learn that every feeling is safe and that what a feeling is, right? And we cover all this, what a feeling is, what's happening inside the body, how to support that feeling, how to breathe through it. That is the peace comes in that groundedness and of being able to be with it. So it's truly a beautiful thing that all comes again from the daily activities with food. So
Right.
it's beautiful.
All right. Give us a third one. What's the next one?
So, conscious eating on the deeper level provides you with the awareness of what you truly need in the present moment. So, how many of you are like, yeah, I need to be more present in my life? I know my mind is everywhere. It's in the past, it's in the future. I want to be more present. Well, this practice does such a great job because the practice requires you before you react to food to do just that. Come to the present moment. Hey, I'm having this desire to eat. I'm on my way to the pantry. Pause. Is this my body asking for food? Is it nourished, time to nourish? Or is this something else going on? Is my mind suggesting I eat? That question in and of itself brings you into the present moment. You have to, in order to go into your body, the body's always living in the present.
Yeah.
And so you will receive the answer of the present. And when it's telling you what you truly need, and it kind of bleeds into the next one, right? So when you
Yeah.
recognize that you're like, okay, this isn't hunger, it's not my body asking, and you ask yourself, then why do I want to eat right now? In the present moment, it'll be your need will be shown to you what you're
Yeah.
needing,
And
right?
sometimes it will be eating, and that's great. If it is
If
eating,
it's the body, right? But if
then
it's not,
yep. If you have true body hunger, then eat. Please
yeah,
eat.
of course.
And then that leads us into the next one. When we're conscious eater, it empowers you. Gone are the days of, I can't go to that restaurant. I'll eat all of that food, right?
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
trepidation about a family event. You
Mm-hmm.
you are worried about, well, how can I go there? All you need is you and your body, mind
Right.
and body. And together you work that out. And when you're there, you make choices together based on what your body's feeling, like what your body
Yeah,
needs, not what your mind is wanting. And
right.
incredibly empowering. I remember, and I'm not advocating here like, oh, never eat a piece of candy. But I remember I was going through this time where I was really trying to not eat any sugar. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember Halloween came and passed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I went a whole entire Halloween and didn't eat one piece of candy. And I remember like literally feeling like I had superpowers because I was just, it
Yeah,
wasn't like I wasn't white knuckling it. It wasn't
yeah.
like, oh, I want that and blah, 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 and I can't have it. I can't have it. I can't have it. It was like, I truly just didn't care.
Hmm.
It wasn't something, and that can be with any food. I just use candy as an example because it
Yeah.
was actually a specific Halloween when I
Mm-hmm.
had all my children at home, and usually we're like picking through, grabbing their
Sure. Yeah.
stickers or whatever else. And I
Yeah.
just remember thinking, I never thought I would see the day where I could pass up on something and survive.
Yes, right. And not be in that wrestle and suffer through it, right?
Yeah,
So you gave a beautiful example, and it's such a relief to get to that point where you're empowered on a physical level,
right.
right? Where with food, it's that physical level of taking care of ourselves. But this is where it's beautiful, where it goes deeper than that. So so between 3 and 4 here, we're kind of bringing them together. When you ask that question and you say, why am I wanting to eat? I recognize it's not my body. When it comes to you and says, I'm really tired, then you're like, Hey, what do I need right now if I'm tired? I need rest, right? Or maybe it's not available for you to go take a nap, but it's kind of just like, let me just take a few minutes. We have had clients just say how valuable that's been, that they just take a minute at their desk and just kind of
Right.
take some breaths and wind down, or switch tasks or whatever,
We've
right?
been working and been like, you know what? Let's
Yeah,
go take a minute. We'll be back here in 30 minutes. I just
we
got to go
have.
shut my eyes for 15 minutes.
Yep, exactly. So sometimes it's an emotional need that needs to be met. Sometimes you just recognize a conditioned pattern you have in your brain. Oh, I'm used to grabbing a snack every time I go to the pickup line and I'm just munch right before the kids come home. Okay, well, what's that about? Is that a habit I've created, or is that truly something I'm wanting, my body wanting to
Mhm.
eat at that time? So in the present moment, the need is revealed, and then you're
Right.
empowered to be able to meet your need. And your body is communicating all of your needs to you, not just your
Right.
hunger needs. Hunger and fullness are just one of the millions of things that your body's communicating to you. All of your needs are communicated through this body. And so we have learned how to meet a lot of our needs with food. That food is the
Right.
appropriate response, right? You had
Right.
a bad day with friends, let's go get a treat, right? We have learned how to use that to cope. And so when we pause and ask this question and the need in real time in the present moment is revealed, we're empowered in that moment to be like, it's actually not food I need. It's this. I just need to go do this, or I just need to allow this to be with me right now. Or I just need to see, oh, this is just a pattern at 10 a.m. I'm always on my way to the pantry, that you can just see it for what it is and take care of your needs. And that's probably out of all, I don't know. I want to pick a favorite, but it's hard to. But it is so, when we have a client, I'm thinking of one of our clients that's like, I realized, her family had left town, they were visiting, and she was sad. And her brain had sent her to food. That's how she'd kind of trained herself in the past. And it was just like, when we asked, what is that sadness asking of you? And it was just almost to actually, she turned to gratitude and is like, I just needed to be in gratitude for the time I had with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sadness is going to lead you to an action like, I need to call someone. Maybe I need support. Many
Hmm.
times it's just feeling it, just letting it be there. It's okay to be sad. That's what I am right now. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to be done because of this experience that's flowing in me right now.
Right.
Very, very empowering, very healthy on a mental and emotional level, healthy on a physical level because you're not burdening the body physically. It's just so beautiful.
Well, and the thing to remember is as you're practicing being a conscious eater, all of these things come. They
Yeah.
all like they all feed into each other.
Uh-huh.
Doing this helps this and helps that, but they're all results of being a conscious eater.
Good point. These four things that to me are huge benefits
Yes.
spiritually, emotionally, they come from one thing, and that's the practice.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
like
not
we
doing a
gathered
ton
these
of
four.
different things.
Yeah. We're not like when you do the 20 things that we teach you, you're going to get these four things that we, you know, came up with, these results you get, they all come from the one activity, and it's the conscious eating practice. And on the physical level, that's the answer,
Okay,
you
let's
know?
really quick
So
review the conscious eating practice in
yeah.
steps.
Okay.
So number one, when you want to eat and you're getting ready to eat, we're going to pause, bring ourselves to the present, and ask ourselves, am I hungry? And
Mm-hmm.
check in with yourself. If your answer is you're hungry, then go eat. If
Food's the
your answer
answer.
is I'm not hungry, then you got to figure out what that need is and meet it. Sometimes the need is just being with the feeling you have.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a nap. For me, it's usually a nap because when I'm really tired, I tend to crave foods when I'm not hungry.
That's a very common one for sure.
Okay?
And you will find what that need is by asking the simple question, then why am I wanting to eat right now? If it's
Right.
not my body, what is it driving me to the pantry? So why do I want to eat right now? Will reveal what's going on.
Yep. So am I hungry? If not, why am I hungry? And then meet the need of whatever that reason is. And if you do decide to eat, stay conscious. And
Yeah,
once you're satisfied and you've enjoyed whatever you're eating, eating is done.
that's a
You
great
are,
point. Yes, along
let's
the
talk
way,
about the green beans at the retreat. I was telling Robin, we were putting away dinner one night. There was green beans and there was something else. I don't know.
potatoes.
Potatoes. I was just full. And I was like, but there was just like maybe enough for a half of a serving left. And I was like, okay, pre-conscious Jen would have been like, I'm just going to eat them. Why am I
Yeah,
going to store these and put them away? And we looked at each other, we're like, oh yeah. And if any of you have ever done that, it's like, you're like sitting there just picking on the few things that are left. It's just funny. The last
totally.
bite, even if it's one bite and you're full, bye-bye bite. Like you don't need to eat that.
Totally. Oh, I used to, the corners of the casserole dish would like finish it off, putting away, or yeah, as I'm putting plates away. But yes, and I like what you said because listen, this is a process. And there are times during this process that you're like, okay, I was conscious that it wasn't hunger, but I consciously chose to eat.
Right.
Sometimes that's going to happen. And you touched on that. Then if you choose to, we're not going to shame ourselves. We're not going to turn the brains off and be like, well, screw it. I'll try again tomorrow. You stay conscious, meaning pay attention when you've had enough, right? And when you're not in the shame of it, you're not going to overdo it. And we've seen this with clients who are in that in between and they're like, you know what? I still did choose to eat, but I stayed conscious and I actually stopped way before I ever have.
Okay, so let's take that to another level. You're not hungry, you decide to eat, and now you're really, really full. What do you do after that?
Mm. Yeah. Well, what we tend to do is be like, see, I screwed up again. I suck at this. This
I'm
is terrible.
fasting all day tomorrow.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, what we tend to do is get hard on ourselves and then come up with a super extreme harsh strategy to make up for it. And this is great that you ask because we have a free resource that we teach that and we can link to the notes here, but it's to say, okay, like you can assess and see what happened there and be like, okay, how would I like to do that next time? But then I'll eat again when I'm hungry. It just diffuses all of that
No
energy,
crazy plan.
calms it
Next
all
time I'm
down.
hungry, I will eat.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we accomplished what we wanted sharing today. Did you have anything else?
No, I think we're good.
You guys, this is such a passion of ours because yes, the physical body is a blessing. Many of us believe it's a temple, right, for our souls and to dwell in and have this experience. But and conscious eating on the physical level is a beautiful thing, but you can take this that you learn and apply it in such a deeper, more meaningful way. And we'd invite you to try it out. Look at these things and see the difference you feel in your life.
Absolutely. There's not going to be anything negative that comes from it.
Surely not. No.
Okay.
Mhm.
Have a great week.